This is the lesson for 4-3 for graphing functions. This is, if you think back to chapter 3, section 3-1, this is the same exact thing as graphing lines using the chart method, except that you're going to have y, instead of y equals, you're going to have the f of x. So instead of a y column, you're going to have an f of x column. So if you take a look at the question here, this is how all the questions look today. You are going to see this f of x column instead of the y column, all right? You're used to seeing the y column, but instead it's just going to say f of x. You're going to solve the questions the same exact way. Also, instead of seeing the f of x column, you're going to see f of x equals instead of y equals for your equation. But again, you're going to do them the same exact way. So your values for x will be already chosen for you. So 0, 1, and 2. What we're going to do is take those values, just like we did yesterday. We're going to take those values and sub them in for x. So instead of 2 times x, you're going to have 2 times 0 plus 1. Instead of 2 times x, you're going to have 2 times 1 plus 1. And instead of 2 times x, you're going to have 2 times 2 plus 1. So all that you're doing is subbing in the values for x, just like we did yesterday, just like you did back in 3-1. Whatever you get for an answer is going to go in your f of x column. Remember, the f of x column is just your y. So you could either type this right into the calculator, or you could do it in your head. If you do it in your head, make sure that you follow order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS, however you learned it. You have to do the multiplying first before you do the adding or subtracting. So 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. We put our answer in that f of x column. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Remember, when you go to graph your points, your x value is how many we go over. Your y value, or in this case, your f of x value, is how many you go up or down. Remember that when we go to start graphing points, all right, we always start right there at that green dot right in the middle at 0, 0, where the x and y axis cross. So the first point that we want to graph is 0, 1. So starting in the middle, over 0, up to 1. This is our first dot. 1, 3, starting in the middle at the green dot, over to 1, up to 3. This is our second dot. 2, 5, starting in the middle, over to 2, up to 5. Put your dot. This is our third dot. You should end up with 3 dots for every single question, just like we did before. Connect your dots to form your line. Make sure that you put arrows on the ends of your lines, and you should label your line. On a Regents exam, on a state test, if you don't label your line, you will lose points. So that's what our line looks like. And then you're going to have this third question, just like we had before. Now, remember, when we have points, all points are written x, comma, y. So 6 is our x, 13 is our y. Now, remember, this is also your f of x. F of x and y are the same thing. So we want to know, is that point 613 on the function? Is it part of the line? Is it on the line? Well, just like we did before, you're going to sub those numbers into our original equation. So our original equation said f of x equals 2x plus 1. We need to take and sub our values in. So instead of 2 times x, I have 2 times 6 plus 1. And instead of f of x or y equals, my y value is 13. So do this calculation. 2 times 6 plus 1. 2 times 6 plus 1 is 13. So 13 equals 13. If the numbers match like this, your answer is a yes. If the numbers don't match, then your answer is a no. And this is one complete question. It looks identical to what we did in 3-1, except that instead of a y column and instead of y equals, we have f of x equals. Otherwise, it is literally exactly the same. So let's take a look at another example. In this one, we have a fraction. Now, anytime that you have a fraction, you won't see 0, 1, and 2. You'll see multiples of the denominator. So you'll see like 0, 2, and 4. Remember, for 1/2 is really the decimal 0.5. How do you get that decimal? Top number divided by the bottom number. So 1 divided by 2. So we have 0.5 times 0 instead of times x plus 1. 0.5 times 2 plus 1. And 0.5 times 4 plus 1. So we just took our x values, just like we did yesterday, and we sub them in for x, all right, just like we did yesterday. Whatever you get for your answer when you type that into your calculator goes in the f of x or y column, all right? So 0.5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 0.5 times 2, half of 2 is 1, plus 1 is 2. 0.5 times 4 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Remember that your x value is how many we go over. Your y value is how many we go up or down. When we go to graph points, we always start right in the middle. So we're going to start right here at 0, 0. The first point that we want to graph is 0, 1. So over 0, up to 1. Here's our first dot. 2, 2, starting in the middle, over to 2, up to 2. And 4, 3, starting in the middle, over to 4, up to 3. There's our 3 dots. Remember that your 3 dots should always form a straight line. If they form some sort of V shape or check mark shape or weird shape, it's not right. All right. Make sure that they always form a straight line. Connect your dots, put arrows on the ends of your lines. You will lose credit on your quiz and on your test if you don't put arrows on the ends of your lines, and you should label your line. Is the point 8, 4 a solution? Well, 8, 4. 8 is our x value. 4 is our y value because all points are always written x comma y. I'm going to take those and sub them in to our original equation. So instead of f of x equals or y equals, I'm going to have 4 equals. Instead of 1/2 times x, I'm going to have 1/2 times 8 plus 1. Take this side of the equal sign and actually type it into the calculator. 1/2 or 0.5 times 8 is 4, plus 1 is 5 for that side. Does 4 equal 5? No, it doesn't. So therefore, our answer is no. Remember, if they don't match in the end, our answer is no. If they do match, like this previous one did, 13 equals 13, then it is a yes. So let's try one more. All right, last one. This one has a negative sign out in front of it. So I want to do one negative example. Again, we're going to take our x column and sub it in for x, just like we did yesterday. So instead of -3 times x, I have -3 times 0 plus 2. Instead of -3 times x, I have -3 times 1 plus 2. Instead of -3 times x, I have -3 times 2 plus 2. Take these and actually type them right into the calculator. Again, if you're going to do them in your head, make sure that you do the multiplying first. Otherwise, you'll get the wrong answer. -3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. -3 times 1 is -3, plus 2 is -1. And -3 times 2 is -6, plus 2 is -4. When we go to graph our points, your x column is how many we go over. Your y column is how many you go up or down. When we go to graph points, we always start graphing right in the middle, right at that green dot. So the first point that we want to graph is 0, 2. Over 0, up to 2. 1, -1, starting in the middle, over to 1, down to -1. And 2, -4, starting in the middle, over to 2, down to -4. Again, your 3 dots should always form a straight line. If they don't form a straight line, you did something wrong. Put arrows on the ends of your lines, and you should also label your line. When we go to check our point to see if it is a solution, remember your first number is your x, your second number is your y. So we're going to take that and sub it into this equation. So instead of f of x or y equals, I have -10 equals. Instead of -3 times x, I have -3 times 5 plus 2. You could take this and type it right into the calculator. -3 times 5 is -15, plus 2 is -13. Does -10 equal -13? No, it doesn't. Therefore, our answer is no. One of the biggest mistakes that people make in this is, remember, graphing your points. Your x value is how many we go over. Your y value is how many you go up or